Vancouver real estate sales are seemingly crashing as the number of sales have dropped by 34% compared to last year and are off 26% from last month, meaning the number of sales have gone down drastically. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the market itself is crashing. In fact, the home prices are telling a different story, as is the long-term average for home sales in Vancouver. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit, product, and elite price in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. All right, so welcome back. This is the Vancouver real estate update for May of 2022 from Vancouver. That's right, I'm at the JW Marriott Park Hotel in Vancouver. They have done an amazing job for me of setting me up with a great room for filming here and making sure that we can deliver a really cool Vancouver update from Vancouver. And as I look out over the marina here, I am thrilled to be in the city because it is nice to be on the ground and understand what exactly is going on in this real estate market and talking to people who are local to the market and finding out how they're feeling. And this month, the numbers are quite staggering because there's been an absolutely huge drop in the number of sales, and it is actually quite unbelievable how much sales have gone down, especially compared to last year. So they're down about 34%. And as I look to the numbers here, basically last year around this time, there were just under 5,000 sales in this market. And now this year, there's about 3,200, which represents a pretty significant drop. And even in March of this year, home sales were up around 4,300. So clearly the interest rate increases have created some sort of a slowdown in the market out here. And that is to be expected. As you get higher interest rates, you're going to start to see a certain subset of buyers that are starting to find themselves out of that market, either because they can no longer afford to purchase a property in that market, because obviously with higher interest rates comes lower qualifying. We've talked about the 1%, 10% rule quite extensively on this channel, which by the way is a really valid means of determining how much you'll qualify for as interest rates go up. For every 1% increase in interest rates, it affects affordability by about 10%. So if we see a 2% increase in interest rates, we're probably going to see about a 20% reduction in the amount that people qualify for. And that is showing up in the Vancouver, the Toronto real estate market as buyers start to come out of the system. And as 90 to 120 day rate holds that were received in the January and February markets before interest rates went up quite substantially start to work their way through the system, we're probably going to see less and less sales, especially in this bigger market. Now, unlike Toronto, where we're seeing month over month housing prices go down by about 3.5%, we're not really seeing the same picture in the Vancouver market. And furthermore, even with sales down about 35% compared to last year, we're still about 1.5% above the 10-year average. So in other words, this increase in interest rates, at least for the Vancouver market, represents a return to the normal amount of sales that would have happened pre-pandemic, which is good news. We haven't seen this tank and we haven't seen this number go down substantially. And I think there's a reason for that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But before I do, let's talk about the benchmark price, because the benchmark price as of right now, the composite benchmark price, which represents on average of all properties basically, is 1.374 million, which is about 20% higher, 18.9% higher than it was last year, and is about 1% higher compared to March of 2022. So what's happening here? We've got less sales, but we've still got higher prices by about 1%. And the reality of it is that Vancouver is still a market that has very little housing supply compared to the amount of people that are moving here. We saw a recent article from BNN Bloomberg where it talked about the fact that people are moving quite frequently to the coast, whether it's East Coast or West Coast, and Vancouver still remains one of the most desirable places in Canada, if not the world, to live. And there is no excess supply that is coming to market in this real estate market. In fact, being here and looking around, it really surprises me how few buildings there are being built here, especially when you consider that in Calgary, you see a significant amount of cranes on any given day building new towers and new buildings. And in Vancouver, while they are here, there aren't as many, which I find really, really interesting in such a high demand market. And I think this leads to the conversation about why I don't think the Vancouver real estate market is going to crash anytime soon. And quite frankly, why I don't believe that most of the Canadian real estate market is going to crash anytime soon. And it quite honestly has to do with the underlying real estate fundamentals. So yes, we are going to see, as interest rates go up, some negative pressure on the real estate market. We may see corrections in different markets, and certain markets will have a decrease in home values, but there's also going to be markets that stay pretty steady or get higher values as time goes on. And I think Vancouver is likely going to be one of those markets that stays relatively flat even in the face of higher interest rates. And if you look at the prairies with higher oil prices, I think we can still expect a pretty significant run up in those markets over the next little while because they have been in a laggard position compared to the rest of the country. And now as there's higher energy prices, those markets tend to perform very, very well, while at the same time, the rest of the country may not perform as well. And when we talk about the underlying fundamentals, I mean, there just isn't enough supply. We've done a really great job of not building enough homes in Canada. And if you look at the recent immigration numbers, they've just been revised up. And we're now expecting 450,000 new Canadians as a result of immigration programs. And these are designed to fulfill one of our other big needs in Canada outside of the supply of housing, which is jobs. Because at this moment, we have the lowest unemployment rate in the G7, and we just don't have enough people to fill the jobs. This is why wages are also increasing at the same time. We're seeing wage numbers run up, and that is quite frankly because we don't have enough people to fulfill the number of jobs that we require to keep the economy going. And then on top of that, we've got a federal government who says we are going to double the production of houses in Canada in the next 10 years. And well, the reality of it is that's probably not possible either. And Dr. Sherry Cooper, who is somebody that I've admired for a very long time, spoke at a conference that I'm at right now, and she suggested that this is just impossible. It's not going to happen because there is not enough skilled labor in Canada right now, and there's probably going to be a really hard time getting enough skilled labor to actually go and double the supply of houses in Canada or double the amount of new building in Canada. So really where we're at is we're in a position where home prices, for the most part, are probably going to remain relatively stable because we just don't have enough. In fact, we've got the lowest amount of supply per capita in the G7. And on top of that, home building in Canada has already been at a 46-year high, which means we've been building as much as we possibly can. So in order to double that, I think that's just the federal government trying to convince you that they're doing things, and it's going to help. It has to help. But the reality of it is it's a long-term problem, and it isn't going to be fixed in the short term, even with higher interest rates. Yes, we're going to see a little bit less borrowing. We're going to see a little bit higher housing expenses. But the reality of it is that there isn't enough homes to supply to Canadians. And therefore, we aren't going to find ourselves in a situation anytime soon where you see a market crash unless something that is completely unforeseen comes and kicks us in the butt. So if you're one of those people who thinks, oh, interest rates are going to crash the Canadian real estate market, well, they're probably going to have a little bit of a correcting effect, but don't start banking on the fact that our market's going to tank because really we have too many people and not enough homes. And there's no other way to fix that other than to get rid of a bunch of people, which isn't happening anytime soon, or to build more homes, which also isn't happening anytime soon. So if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. Don't forget about our upcoming contest, our 25,000 subscriber contest, where we're going to give away $5,000, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers.